Good morning. I woke up this morning and I wasn't going to make any podcast. I wasn't going to make any more podcasts because I sort of realized, because what I do is I stream these videos, but then I have to think back on these videos and I have to look at things and I have to look at things because it's very hard, as to say, as Kierkegaard said, it's very easy to join the dots looking backwards, but it's nearly impossible to join them looking forwards. So I have to look back on different sections like the days, and you have to say to yourself, because the universe is immersed in delusion and deception, you have to ask yourself what the fuck is going on, and this is the only way. Like people say, don't look back, present moment, present moment. You know what? But they just monetize this present moment bullshit. Again, this is back to wishy-washy in his present moment. But it's very important to reflect back, just so you can see exactly what the fuck is going on. Now, yesterday I thought about yesterday's video, and I thought about the attack I did in Peterson, and I said to myself, Jesus, hold on a second. I said, I wanted to talk about concepts, and we're on the module of concepts, but I was saying to myself, here, hold on a second. You're creating a concept that looks like I'm suffering from resentment. Now, resentment is more or less what a term described by Nietzsche. And of course, we had a French fellow here the other night who hinted at this, was to sow the seed in my mind. To see, do I suffer from resentment? Now, I don't suffer from resentment. Now, resentment is the same as resentment, but he says resentment. That's the French term, because it was basically suffered by the Christians, the poor Christians who embraced Christian values, poverty, chastity, and piety. We're going to heaven and you're going to hell. But this poverty and chastity also cultivated a feeling of resentment. Basically, it's not jealousy as such, but it's a feeling of we're morally righteous and you're a heathen, but this is a rationalization of a feeling. So basically, you resent them and their wealth, and you resent their life. You have all this money, you're getting all the sex. You resent you resent their lifestyle. So even though you have chosen to do fuck all yourself, you resent the people. But it's not the same. It's not quite the same as envy, because envy we'll keep that, like, it's a form of envy, but it's not the same as envy. A distinction has to be made. Now, if you were to look at how this manifests itself, for example, I'm on the second series of Cathedral by the Sea. And whereas as I said, like, you have to ask yourself, why are the Jews being persecuted everywhere they go? But you also have to ask what emotion is being used to persecute them. So first of all, we might have the Grand Inquisitor, who might be a man of reason. Now, he might be a man of reason, but he might be controlled by the will to power, greed, everything else. Now, lust also plays a big factor if you look at Cathedral by the Sea, and that's why it's very important when I say, like the other day I said, stop fucking your mother and your sisters. Now, your mother is Mother Nature. Basically, it's sort of like the crusade over against masturbation. But for example, I wouldn't take up this crusade. Even if the universe was this. Now, I had a few beers the other night, so obviously I was streaming that, stop fucking your mother and your daughters. But if you look up if you look into the depth of what I'm saying, is what we're trying to do here. All I'm trying to say here is nobody gives a fuck if anybody pulling the stomach on themselves all day. But I'm just saying it's about controlling the instinctual drives, controlling this instinctual drive to procreate, this instinctual drive for pleasure, like pulling the bollocks out of yourself, like a bonobo monkey all day. This is the instinctual drive for pleasure, and believe me, it does affect your libido. It makes you lazy when it comes to a variety of things. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. That's not my point. I'm just explaining something. Do you understand? It's not a morally righteous stance. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if I look, why is it being said, which I won't take personal responsibility for, this is what makes me a hypocrite, but I will say that I'd always look to understand why. Now, in saying that, uh, do if I was to do anything, if everything was reason. So I'm not going to. It's not a moral stance in that I'm not trying to make anybody feel any shame or guilt as the Christians did because they weaponized the guilt and shame. I'm just explaining why. It's about controlling these feelings, but controlling the will to procreate and the instinctual drive for pleasure, especially the instinctual drive for pleasure, because what you lose if you don't control these feelings is you lose your sovereignty, you lose yourself, you lose all control over yourself. And basically when it comes down to self-control, because I'm constantly asking is how much free will have I, how much free will have I? And it's believe me, and it doesn't matter what the appearances say, but let me tell you, like, it's a full fight nearly 24/7. But it's not because well we agree on a lot of things, but at the same time if I feel that I'm being taken down the road, I'll put the reins on. So like, whereas I don't really mind, but this morning was something like that, and I want to explain this. I was on a module explaining concepts and how we don't create the concepts. And even though I was looking at Salt Bay the other day, and a lad paid $932 for a meal, and I looked at this and I said to myself, "Good Jesus, how do I feel about this?" It wasn't a judgment, but I said to myself, well, there's several ambiguities in this, and I have to remember that we don't create the concepts. So basically what we had here is a man going in, paying 932 quid for a meal. Now we will have an element of the Emperor's New Clothes in this. So he paid such money that he creates concept in his own mind to rationalise his expenditure. But it's also relative to how wealthy he is. Like, for example, if you're a millionaire like that, 932, you know, burn it. You know what I mean? You're constantly looking for things new ways to stimulate your pleasure center, because as Marcus Aurelius said, once you exceed a certain limit, pleasures become punishments. So you're constantly looking for new ways, unless you're actually very concentrated on your work, but not in relation to money, but your actual role in life. It's hard to break these things down as original things. But if you get the money handy, basically, you like the likes of Dan Blitzer or any of these fucking arseholes that are doing the like Andrew Tate and all these that are flashing this lifestyle and making money from this lifestyle. You're constantly looking for things to activate the pleasure center, because after a while, like for example, my mother, we were raised on potatoes and beans. That was our dinner. We weren't rich, like, and one time, I don't know what happened, I suppose, thinking back, the universe teaches me from a young age, but the mother started bringing home chicken and chips every night. And first when she started bringing home the chicken and chips, I said, Jesus Christ, chicken and chips, is it Christmas? We couldn't believe getting chicken and chips. And after she kept bringing home the chicken and chips, so it became more and more the chicken and chips, until such a point we said, oh, not these fucking chicken and chips again. Can we not just have dinner? You know what I mean? I couldn't stand the sight of fucking chicken and chips. But do you know what I'm saying? And this applies to everything. When you exceed a certain limit, pleasures become punishments. Now, Mae West also said too much of a good thing is fucking great. But again, this depends on a number of variables. You know what I mean? It depends on a number of variables. Like, for example, what pissed me off, and I want to talk about the concepts, that we don't create the concepts. Ultimately, we don't create the concepts, because concepts are created by an exploitation and manipulation of your senses, because we perceive life through the senses. And this includes, now they say you have only 5 senses, but I include the brain as a sense organ, because the brain is a sense organ, because that's where you pick up the electromagnetic waves from the all that you can't see. Do you understand? From the electromagnetic spectrum. This is why I say everything is mind. But the brain picks up the electromagnetic spectrum from this, everything, all the energy that you can't see. So which this makes up, and I hypothesize that it's picked up by neurons in the thalamus and transferred to the cerebellum for processing. Now, I don't think I'm wrong in that, but my theory is as valid as string theory and all the rest of that bullshit that the academics throw out to you, spring out to you, and nobody questions it because they are the academic hierarchy. But basically, So this is we ultimately, even though people create the concepts, if they're being driven by their instinctual drives, So this is say lust, greed, the will to power, the will to live, the will to procreate, the will to power, and the instinctual drive for pleasure. Now, if they're being driven by these things, for example, even their desires and aversions, basically they're not the creator, and you can only be the creator when you make the unconscious conscious, when you start to question your intent, when you start to do what I do, like not saying I'm anywhere, like I work on myself all the time, all the time. I'm nowhere like the level I'm talking about. I'm not there. Like I'm not there. I'm not trying to purport myself as I'm just saying I work all day on my free will. I'm freedom is my highest value. Like freedom. And yesterday, what I wanted to say about Peterson is that the universe exploits these senses in order to make things go the way they must. So, for example, like I had a bit of an attack on Peterson yesterday, and the reason I had an attack on Peterson was I remember when I was doing brought into like there was a consignment of steroids taken from me, and I went into it, and of course they came to me, the FBI, you appear in the barracks at such and such a time, even though they had no great authority to summons me at all. This was the medicine board. But I went to the interview, and when I sat in the interview, your man started to tell me about steroids and how much steroids I had and how much, and I said, but sure, where's the problem? Like, you know what I mean? I haven't broken any law. You know what I mean? I'm entitled to have them for personal use. And he said to me, yeah, but we deem you to have more than is deemed appropriate for personal use. And I says, oh, do you now? And who the fuck are you to make that judgment? And he said, we're an authority on the subject. And I said, you're an authority on the subject. How much test do I use? How much test do you think I use? How much test should I use? I said, you're an authority on nothing. You're a self-appointed authority that's not only imposing your morality, but you're most certainly not an authority on the subject, because you knew fuck all about test. Do you understand? Now, when I heard Peterson going on the other night, I was instantly reminded of this, but of course this was orchestrated by the universe to give the impression that I have feelings of a resentment towards Peterson. Now, I most certainly have no feelings of resentment. I couldn't give two fucks about Peterson. I'm actually, like I said, it's like whack-a-mole. I'm constantly trying to take him on my newsfeed because I have absolutely no interest in what he's saying at all. Do you understand? But it's in creating these concepts. For example, like if it wants you to be attracted towards someone or fall for someone or to be in love with someone, it creates this illusion, all these little smiles, these little movements, these little, even though they can't control fully. Unless you talk like Osho, you can't really control a lot of what you say. Or it takes a lot of concentration. If you have to talk like Osho, listen how Osho talks. Now he thinks about it, registers it, and then says it. That's why he talks the way he talks. But personally, I don't give a fuck. I'm happy to stream. But then I think back on it. But I just wanted to say it's given this impression that I suffer resentment. And I absolutely don't, because I'm very conscious of Nietzsche and resentment. Now I have a role, and I couldn't give two fucks about how much anybody else has, how much they haven't, how successful they are. I could not give two fucks. I'm very happy tipping away there at the gym, and right now, like before I had absolutely no desires, and now the only desire I have is it's not even to do with philosophy. I'm not finished with the philosophy because it's ongoing, but I just want to work away in the gym. I just want to work on myself, and if I have provision to do that, I'm a happy man. But where was I? So basically what you were getting is appearances. So you're getting a concept of me and an appearance of me. But don't forget, these are concepts. And if you want to have control over yourself, you must question every concept. Like, as Marcus Aurelius said, like about the big tomahawk steak the other night was over 600 and something pounds. But I didn't feel any way resentful. I was just trying to work out the ambiguities of it, the emperor's new clothes, the fact that it's it's shown that because the arts is going, and the arts including cooking and restaurant, this is an inversion of the hierarchies. It is an appreciation of the human experience. Cooking for somebody, creativity with food, all this is the human experience, that they hope that machines can't go there yet. Do you understand? This is an appreciation for each other. This is the inversion of the hierarchies. If you can understand what I'm trying to say here. Yeah. So you have to factor in all this, but what I'm trying to say is you have to realise, start asking, what, like as Marcus really said, that's just a lump of rotten carcass, that's just a rotten carcass.